What questions will the judge ask your child at the custody hearing? Hi, I'm Alicia Kinchlow, the owner of Kinchlow Law, a family law practice based in the Philadelphia area. Now, often parents want to know what is their child going to be asked during the custody trial. And you should know that these questions are going to vary. They're going to depend on what's going on in your case. They're going to depend on the age of your child, and they're going to depend on your judge. So it's very important for you to understand how your court proceeding is going to work. In Philadelphia, there are different types of custody hearings and trials. Some are scheduled for quicker sessions for like 45 minutes to an hour. Some of them are scheduled for full days. And so that gives a lot more opportunity to develop the case and to give the judge more information to work with. Often judges will talk to the child at the very end of the case. So they had an opportunity to listen to the argument from the attorneys. They've had an opportunity to listen to the parties and any witnesses, and also review any evidence that may have been admitted during the course of the custody proceeding. And then they can take that information and use it to speak with your child. Now, as always, you want to speak to an attorney licensed in your state about the facts specific to your case, because these videos are for informational purposes only, and I'm giving you some general information. Often children are interviewed or talked to by the judge outside of the presence of the parties. This allows the children to speak freely. It's important to know that this is an appearance that is waived. So most of the time, the judge will ask their attorneys, do you waive your right to be available to interview the child yourself or to be present during the judge's interview? Most attorneys will go ahead and waive it, but that's not something that has to happen. So it's important for you to be aware of that as well. When it comes to the types of questions that a judge normally asks, a lot of them will first start by setting up gaining a rapport with the child. So there'll usually be some softball questions. But before they get into that, the first step really is to qualify them. And that is to make sure they understand, usually for a child, the difference between the truth and a lie, and that they are able to communicate well enough to be able to answer questions. So sometimes a judge will talk to children as young as 4 or 5. And again, depending on their ability to tell the truth, understand a lie, and to communicate, they will limit or structure their questions around that. So, for example, a judge may ask a young child about maybe something specific that's going on, or usually something around discipline, or just how things are going back and forth between mom and dad's house. They're not going to get into the same types of questions or details that they would get into with a 14 or 15-year-old who is able to understand the difference between a truth and a lie and to articulate and remember and recall certain things accurately. So it's important to understand that the purpose of a child talking to a judge may be different based on the age of the child and what is going on in the case. So sometimes judges will be looking again to verify certain events or to get the child's perspective of certain events if they have been present. And in certain instances, it might be to try to ascertain their preference. So in Pennsylvania, one of the custody factors is the preference, the well-reasoned preference of the child. So it's not just that, okay, this child is 15 years old and they know that mom is an easier parent and they're going to want to stay with mom because dad is going to discipline. It's going to be the well-reasoned preference of the child. So the judge will ask questions to get at that generally. They're not going to just say, hey, child, who do you want to live with? They're going to ask, well, why? If the child comes up and say, I really would like to be with dad, why is it that you would like to be with dad? And the child may say, hey, I have half siblings that come over with dad that I don't get to see because of the current way the schedule is set up, or mom doesn't allow me to go over there, or I just enjoy being around dad a lot more than I do mom because we bond over the same types of things. He's more active in my after school sports and things of that nature. The judge is going to look at the well-reasoned preference of the child. But again, remember, it's only one of the 16 custody factors. So again, just because a child is saying that this is where they prefer to be, it does not mean that that's what's going to happen. But again, when it comes down to the questions, one way to make sure, or to try to make sure, that the judge will ask questions that you think will help your case is to present a list of proposed questions. Now, you want to, again, speak with your attorney about this, and you want to find out what the judge's rules are. So a lot of courts will have local rules that explain what particular judges like or what they want. And then attorneys who go before the same judges will often know. And if they don't know, they're going to reach out to colleagues or to the judge's staff to find out. Now, some judges will have pretrial conferences before their proceedings to give you information on how to submit this evidence. They may say you draw up a list of proposed questions, turn them over to the other side, you guys can talk about them, and then whatever the edited versions are will go to the judge. Some judges will just take your list of proposed questions into consideration, and they may not ask them exactly how you word them, but they might try to get at the heart of some of the things that are brought up in there. So some of the questions that might end up in a list of proposed questions may be, again, to find a way to get at certain things. If there was a specific incident that happened, you may ask specific questions about that. If there is issues with regard to the way that one parent is disciplining, the question may be phrased as, how does mom discipline you? How does dad discipline you? Who does your homework with you? Who takes you to your doctor's appointments? So there are a lot of ways to ask the questions that are not leading, but that gets the child to answer generally, and that may support arguments that have been made or other testimony that have been given throughout the course of the case. So as always, it's important to understand that cases vary, that the child is just one witness, but a very important one. And if there is a question about their preference, again, it's only one of the 16 factors, but definitely speaking with an attorney, understanding how the judge approaches their courtroom, how they expect the litigants to behave, and what they like to receive from you in order to prepare your case is something that you want to make sure you have a good understanding of and that you take advantage of to make sure that you are presenting your case and your argument in the best way. Again, I hope to shed a little bit of light on some of the questions that the judge may ask. Again, getting at the 16 factors in Pennsylvania, getting at specific events where they're important, and then also looking at the child's actual preference and finding ways to ask questions about those are generally what's going to happen during those interviews after the judge has actually built a rapport with the child first. All right. If you have any other questions and you want to talk to someone from my firm, you can reach us at kinchellowlaw.com. If there are any other topics you would like us to cover, make sure you put them in the show notes below. These videos are here for you to provide you with information about custody support and divorce in the state of Pennsylvania. But again, they're not legal advice, they're information only. And we hope to see you back here, and you can make sure that you don't miss a video by hitting subscribe and the little notification bell so that you'll get a notification each time we drop a new video. All right, until next time, take care.